Evening, sir. Sweet. Thank you. Yes. We are waiting on Ben to get on, so I sent him an invite. So as soon as he gets that, we should be good. Let's see here. Maybe. Let's try that again. Hopefully he's able to join. Uh, Try it again. Okay. Trying again. Let's see. Um, Invite. There we go. There we go.
All right.
That's better.
Let's do.
Let's see. Wi-Fi should be good.
Oh shit.
There we go. We do that one.
Look at this. Look at me.
Oh, look at that. Very festive. Sweet. Yeah, I can hear you all right.
All right, good. Good. So this is my phone. I just propped it up in front of shit. I was originally going to try it on this, but the prompt didn't show up on that.
Yeah.
So who knows?
No, it's good. Looks fine to me. Should be good.
Cool.
Okay.
Yolanda. My middle name is Clark.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I'm pretty sure she just found that out like in the last 3 days.
All right. So getting some people on here. So we are going to chat about Morphogen nutrition. And you guys can, if you want to, there's a question box in the bottom right corner. So you can always, if you want to drop any questions in there, you can do that and we'll be able to see them. Or you can just type them in the chat box. But anyhow, okay. So how's it going?
Very good. Been a long day. I've been here all day. I actually just got done training a few minutes ago, so
Yeah. I was
my
literally,
post-workout Protogen ready to go, and I got a little bit of Gatorade, and yeah, ready to rock.
I was fucking inhaling food, not digestive friendly either, like trying to chew to get on. Like,
I had a pretty large, like a turkey breast. Basically, it comes in these 3-packs of these marinated like turkey breasts, and they're fucking enormous. And I ate a whole one for my second meal today with a fuckload of like pineapple and some other shit. That was hours ago. In the middle of doing fucking machine dips, I was burping up like the seasoning on the turkey. I was like, God, this is awful. I'm not one of the people that can eat like solid food meal before I train.
Yeah.
Even like 2 hours before, or 3 hours before, I have to have a shake. I've been that way for years. And today I had two solid food meals, which is very rare for me to have two solid food meals during the day on a work day when I'm super busy. And I did it, and I regretted it. So
Yeah.
tomorrow I will not be.
Yeah. I eat pretty light in the morning before I train and up to when I train because I just can't do it. Yeah. This shit will be burping up chunks of food.
Yeah, it's funny because
But
like Deidre can eat a full meal, drink her Alphagen with her meal, and walk into the gym in 5 minutes, and she's fine. I do not. I digest stuff really slow historically, anyways. Food, water. I mean, like I could drink 20 ounces of water first thing in the morning and be bloated for an hour, and my stomach just doesn't empty fast. But I can also go long periods of time without food, and I'm relatively okay. So
yeah,
it's a curse.
It's the cockroach genetics.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, we did get a question. So first question we had was, do you guys have any retailers in Europe?
That is an excellent question.
Yep.
So, no, we do not at the moment. So there actually might be a couple in the United Kingdom who still have some of our products. I am unaware of which ones have stuff and what products they might have. So we actually spent most of 2021 going into the first half of 2022, or at least the first couple months, really aggressively looking to expand into European retail. And we had a broker who's really well experienced in the industry. He's worked for a dozen other companies very successfully. And we had a number of logistical problems, largely in part because of COVID. Shit just kept closing down. And with supply chain delays hitting and shipping costs going up all over the world, not only were half the stores closing, at least for 3 months at a time, who wanted to sell our stuff, but the cost to ship our stuff there went up exponentially. And so then it was like, well, they can't afford to ship it. And so then we were actually looking into a number of really reputable manufacturers. So this was in Europe, primarily in the UK and in Australia, actually, that we were doing this at the same time. So we were looking at Australian manufacturers and manufacturers in the United Kingdom to try to get at least a few of our big hitters manufactured there and then shipped directly to the retailer, who would then distribute it amongst all their stores. And this was like a whole thing. We literally spent a year trying to do this, and we did it a little bit, but there were so many hurdles in the way that it was taking up so much of my time when I was also working on the rebrand. And we weren't making enough money to justify the amount of effort involved. I'm not against exploring that in the future, but one of our biggest problems, and partially why we've always been a direct-to-consumer company, is that to do retail, to do wholesale, even in foreign markets, it's a volume game. You have to sell a lot. And in order to do that, everybody has to be motivated by margin. And we make stuff that's better than everybody else's. We can't manufacture it for cheap enough, even for an international market, to buy it at a wholesale cost to then sell it at a high profit. And so they're not even motivated to sell it as much as they are, let's say, another brand. So even though they're like, oh yeah, look at us, we have Morphogen on our shelf, they're not pushing it because they're not making the money that they're making on this shit company over here. So nobody wins. And then we end up spending our money on this product and shipping it overseas for a small return on our investment. And then we run out of inventory here for all of our direct sales.
I found two places that have it still. There's Inception Nutrition and Insight Supplements still have some products, but they're last year's labels. So, it's just whatever they had left. Morphocom, Morphobrain, Nutrigen, and Alphagen.
Yep. And so a few of those actually we had the Nutrigen and the Alphagen, we had custom batches manufactured for them. So instead of drawing from our existing inventory, they gave us, the down payment. We ordered a specific batch just for them of those goods. We had those shipped directly from our manufacturer overseas over to them. But what's funny is they've had that for like a year, which means
so they're clearance. Two of the products are clearance.
which means that they haven't been selling them. So either they haven't been selling well
Right.
because they're trying to make too much money and they're marking the price up way too high, or they refuse to sell it at a normal price and take a slightly smaller margin, and nobody, and so they're not pushing it because they're making more money on something else. So it's just the wholesale distribution game across the whole industry, not just for international markets, is terrible. It's terrible when you make really high quality products. That's why you don't see luxury vehicles, like really high class luxury vehicles, sold at every car dealer down the street. It just doesn't exist. But if you want to buy a Lamborghini, you know where to go find a Lamborghini. You go to either one of these high-end places, which, there might be one in every big city, or you go direct to Lamborghini and you buy it from them. And they're also not selling, having commercials, and they're not spending all this money on advertising for the same reason, because it's like the people that value what they're selling are going to find them.
Right. Yep. So you guys can find Insight Subs and Inception if you're in the UK. There's some stuff left. Okay. Sweet. So, all right. Your absolute favorite questions. When is Drive going to be back in stock?
Fuck everybody the fucking questions. Okay. Here's the thing. The new Drive, Lean, Prime, Bollock, Adaptogen Vanilla are all supposed to ship to us this week. Like ASAP, like tomorrow. We should have those back in stock either late this week or very early next week. That is almost guaranteed.
Sweet.
We have a lot coming. These are so the Lean and the Prime are the rebranded versions that we have coming in. This is just the next round. Bollock is the same. We might tweak Bollock in the future, going into some future batches. I'm looking at some stuff. And it's the new Drive that we haven't released yet that I'm very, very excited about. So two of the big changes that we made in Drive, well, I'll say three of the big changes is one is as part of the rebrand, we've been reallocating some ingredients from one product to another. And part of the reason that I did that is because over the course of like the last 6 years of really expanding the line, I never had any intention of creating this product or this product. So I had like a couple good ingredients in this product that really could have gone somewhere else. And then when we created this product, such as Drive, I was like, well, the berberine and the alpha lipoic acid are great overall health ingredients, but they're much better blood glucose support agents that belong in Drive.
Right.
And we can't put them in both. That's a little redundant, especially with the price of berberine being so high. And there were so many people that either wanted to see them in Drive or didn't want to take Drive because they were in Prime, but they didn't care about all the other ingredients in Prime. And so then for us, it logically made sense to move stuff around. So that way, we move those to Drive. Drive is an overall better product. It's a simplified formula, but it's an overall better product. And we were able to beef up Prime because we opened up so much room in the serving size. And so every respected product category is going to be even better now that we're moving stuff around. So one of those is going to be alpha lipoic acid, which I've been a big fan of for the last 15 years that I've been training for a number of reasons, and dihydroberberine in the form of glucovantage. So berberine has a ton of research, comparing it to metformin for its effects on blood glucose, on fasting blood glucose. But berberine tends to exhibit less potential side effects, less gastric distress, diarrhea, that kind of stuff. It has a few small other negligible benefits here and there, but dihydroberberine is highly bioavailable. So you're looking at like a 5 times strength. So for reference, like a 200 milligram dose of dihydroberberine would be the equivalent of 1,000 milligrams of regular berberine HCl. In doing that, though, we take up less space in the capsule, so we have fewer capsules on a serving size. So you can take like beneficial effects, but not have to, take extra capsules over the course of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So something you guys want to pay attention to, and a lot of the new formulas are different variations of the ingredients, whether it's like new patented forms. You did that in Calm.
Yep.
You've done that in Drive. Because several people have asked, well, why did the dosage on the ingredient change? But the actual ingredient, the form of the ingredient change.
It's better.
That's why.
Well, it's like,
right.
So you mentioned Calm. So we switched from KSM ashwagandha to Shodan ashwagandha. KSM was the gold standard for a while in terms of trademarked, patented, well-researched versions of ashwagandha that were standardized for the amount of lanthanolides that were in the product. They were like the first big guy that came on the market. But as these companies kept coming, Shodan was really cool because they came in and they said, well, we have a smaller dose, but we have a 35% lanthanolide glycoside concentration, which is like, I don't know, 6 times the dose of that specific ingredient with less bulk of the, bulk botanical. Sometimes reducing the amount of bulk botanical in a product is a good thing because you have a higher concentration of the actual compound that you're looking for and less potential interference from other compounds that you may not want in high doses in the product. This is one of those cases where the Shodan ashwagandha is more potent even at a smaller dose, but it's more noticeable because you have less interplay between the other botanical, random ingredients that are in the bulk herb, versus something like Advantra-Z bitter orange extract, which we have in Alphagen. We actually used a lower percentage extract of a much higher bulk botanical, standardized for the same amount of synephrine as we used to have, but we wanted all those extra botanical compounds that are inherently found in the bitter orange extract because they have positive interplay with the standardized synephrine that's in there. Things like trace hordenine and octobamine, things that have some MAOI action. So they actually make all the catecholamines that were released from Alphagen extends their half-life out. So that was a workaround by not having to put like hordenine in the product. So really understanding the botanical that you're using, why you're using it. Are you trying to get an array of compounds or just one, and then using the right extract for the right purpose? It's a really finer, nuanced way to design products. A lot of people don't understand. It's like, well, this one has more. Well, you don't want more, and it's not better, and better's better. Right. So that's what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah, and another thing too is the questions that I get a lot is when you're moving these ingredients around, a little bit of foresight would tell you there's probably going to be other products that are going to be stackable and fill in these gaps eventually down the line. So I'm telling people like yes. There's a reason that these things are moving because,
yes.
like you said, you may have had 5 products before, but if you put, 25 products on a line, there's going to be a lot of overlap. So,
yes. And even when we had all the previous stuff, we had very little overlap,
right.
At very least from the same ingredient being in 2 products, but we had very little overlap in terms of ingredients that could potentially go towards 5 other products.
Right.
There's always a way for us to get a little bit better. Some of it is on paper what I think looks better. Some of it is feedback from consumers. Some of it might be, cost of raw materials changing. And so it's like, how can we continue to produce this amazing product if one of the raw materials just quadrupled in cost? Now we can't produce it anymore, but can we move that ingredient to something else and move something around? And now we're still making everything better and we can still make them. One of those changes is hexogen. So the new hexogen formula is simplified compared to the old one. We beefed up the dose. We made it more of a designated carbohydrate, electrolyte, and performance-based product, and we removed some of the other ones. We moved the glycerol, we moved the creatine magnesium chelate, and a big part of that was major clumping issues from those ingredients that made it almost unproducible. Another problem is the shortage and rising costs of creatine-based products. It was almost impossible to get that ingredient, and the cost went up so exponentially that we couldn't produce it as is. And so it's like the previous version not only had a ton of issues, it clumped, it tasted bad to a lot of people. Some people got diarrhea because there was too much magnesium if they used multiple scoops. It's like, and now all the costs of these materials are going up and we can't even produce it for the cost we need to. This whole product needs to be scrapped. We need to make it a better, more targeted product that is producible. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about too. It's what can be made. And the industry changes, the cost of goods change, the availability of goods changes all the time. And so my goal is always to create a superior end product. And sometimes small tweaks have to be made to continue to be able to do that. And we have now on the new formatting on all the rebranded products, at the bottom has, the labels, the ingredient panel, all the ingredients, all the explanations, all the science, and then it has an FAQ section that specifically explains like, hey, why did you change this formula? Hey, where's the berberine? Hey, where's the whatever? And we say it right there. It's right there.
Yep.
Nobody reads anything, but it's all right there.
Oh, shit. Okay. Let's see. I have calm, but don't know when and why to take it. I struggle to sleep through the night. So I guess they're asking when to take calm.
Okay. So here's the thing with calm. Calm is not a sleep product. Calm is a stress management product.
Right.
Some people find that they can take calm late in the evening to mitigate stress, to induce some form of relaxation, and it assists them with sleep. It's more of a permissive product. But some people get a little bit of, I'm not going to call it stimulation, that's a poor choice of words. I'm going to call it like a peppiness, like an invigoration from the Shodan and from the rhodiola that's in there, which is, again, a really awesome high percentage extract, trademark patented ingredient that is very special to the industry. And it was, once we found it, it was a must to put it in there. We have actually found that a small percentage of people, if they take it late at night, they're like, I feel good. I'm good to go. I'm awake. I feel really good. And I'm like, those people cannot take it late. The biggest thing with something like calm is because it's not a pre-workout. You don't take it at this exact time. Everybody's going to have to find kind of their custom dosing. So it's a 3-capsule serving. So you could take all 3 capsules first thing in the morning and see how you do all day. You could take 1 capsule every 8 hours, breakfast, lunch, dinner, or however you want to do it. Some people find that they can take all 3 capsules with dinner, and then 3 hours later they can go to bed and they're good to go. Some people take it literally right before they go to bed, either with Morphogen or with Somagen, and they're good to go. But everybody's going to need to kind of tweak their own custom dosing on how they feel best from a product like that, especially a product like that where you feel it when you take it. It's not going to be like Prime necessarily, where the most important aspect of Morphoprime is getting it in at some point during the day. You can split them up, you can take them all at once. It just kind of depends. But something like Calm, you may need to tweak when you take it.
Yeah, I generally recommend people use Morphogen in that case, just because that Sensoril ashwagandha version is going to be I'm not going to say sedative, but it's definitely more calming than the other versions. And plus you're getting the serotonin component, you're getting the GABA component, and the melatonin component. So it's going to be much more targeted.
Well, and the cool thing with REM too is the new version of REM is less total capsules because we are moving some stuff around. We focus more heavily on the GABAergic signaling of this one and less on some of the more permissive compounds, some of the minerals and things that took up a huge amount of space in capsules, but they're in Morphomulti, they're in Nutrigen, they're in some other stuff. It's not as important to put them in there. But like you said, like the specificity of those ingredients in REM, the serotonin boosting that inherently is going to calm people down. You have a direct source of GABA, and then you have basically a GABA increasing ingredient. So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch on increasing GABA. The cool thing about the new REM is that you actually can feel more of the GABA effects of this one, which if anybody's ever taken a lot of powdered GABA, you kind of get like a mild shortness of breath. You get a mild flush, maybe some like itchy spots for 5 minutes. That is totally a normal thing, and you typically develop some, habituation to that. But because we focused a lot more on that, you can really feel it. It's a much more effective product. The Sensoril ashwagandha, we talked about percent extracts and specific compounds within a botanical. That is one that made sense to use the Sensoril because it is much more permissive to sleep. I don't want to say sedative, but if we're going to say sedative, that's more along those lines.
Sure.
And on something, with like the 8 capsules, some people might only need 4. Some people might need all 8. The cool thing too, it's like, so we have the melatonin in there at 5 milligrams, and melatonin has a ton of research on safety data, on tons of beneficial effects outside of just sleep permissiveness. So melatonin's non-habit forming, non-addictive. It doesn't cause suppression of your own natural melatonin production. It's cardioprotective. It increases insulin sensitivity. It helps prevent aromatase from converting testosterone into estrogen. It helps with bone integrity, all these things, and somewhere in the 5 milligram range. Well, that's what we have at that full dose in there.
Yeah. Another cool one that's in there is that Chinese skull cap. That's neat. What's really sweet about that is because some people with the GABA dose, it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier very well. So theanine kind of helps because it does raise cerebral GABA levels. But that Chinese skull cap doesn't so much raise GABA, it just attacks the receptor.
Yes.
So you get the effect without
Yes.
needing the GABA.
Well, and
So
when I was talking about being more of a GABAergic signaling focused product, as much as on paper GABA doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, some of it absolutely does. If you take enough GABA, you feel it, and it will enhance your sleep, and you will have vivid dreams. But if you can attack that receptor and provide more GABA at the same time, you absolutely, like I said, that feeling of what it feels like to have your GABA, flooded like that. It's a vastly improved product over the previous version around, for sure.
Someone asked about the new Prime. They said there is a pungent smell with the capsule. What ingredients causing the smell?
So, speaking of the FAQ page, that is on there.
Okay, there you go.
In wake of N-acetylcysteine, or NAC, or NAC, being potentially banned, 6 months ago, there was basically these big farm companies that were trying to lobby to make NAC a drug. NAC has been used in the supplement space for decades. So there was this battle, and there was this kind of like vague area where nobody knew if that was going to be a long-term legal ingredient. There's another form of NAC called N-acetylcysteine ethyl ester, or NACET, or NACET, however you want to pronounce it. The cool thing on that is the ethyl ester is such a small part of that molecule, but it increases the bioavailability tremendously. So you can typically use like half as much and get the same effects as, let's say 600 milligrams of NAC. You use the NACET and you get maybe 300 milligrams. The problem with an ethyl ester group being attached to a compound is that it's highly aromatic. And some of those slowly drift away and are highly reactive to receptors in the nose. So it has this odd smell. We have all that information on the site. The product is not rotten. It is not unsafe to take. We are considering switching back to regular NAC in future batches. One, because of this, and everybody just can't seem to get around it. And the other thing is that NAC was kind of grandfathered in. So the FDA didn't say that it's like good. They basically said that they will not be going after it anymore. It's in this limbo land forever. And so because NAC's back, essentially, we can use that and basically eliminate the aromatic nature of the NAC ET, and stop getting these questions about it. and that's the thing too. It's like, I get it. Oh my God, my shit smells. First of all, I've never been one to open up a bottle of pills and sniff the pills. I don't know. But we get a lot of people with a lot of products. Burn smells funny. It smells like raisins or something. I'm like, I don't know. Like, plants have smells. Chemicals have smells. It doesn't mean it's bad. Everything has potentially a different smell or a different intensity of smell, where even the tiniest bit of an ethyl ester attaches perfectly to these receptors, and you can tell that it's in there. So it just
well, I think a great thing, or something that a lot of people haven't done, is like, and you and I have been around long enough. When we would experiment with botanicals, like in bulk powders and things, and how absolutely
putrid.
How absolutely
you're
terrible.
Right. That shows how long we've been in the industry and how old we're getting. Everybody's got it good now. Everybody's buying shit now. Nothing smells. All the flavors are good. Nothing's gritty. I mean, man, even 10 years ago, I know. I was saying nothing.
Well, there's also a discussion to be had there too of like, if you read the labels and there's some high dose non-proprietary blend products, and you read some of the things and they don't have any smell, any taste, anything, you start to wonder. It's like,
then it's probably maltodextrin or
what is in there?
Glycine.
If anything.
It's like, wow, this powder is really sweet and fluffy, and this amino acid.
You're like, it's glycine powder.
Because it's nothing but glycine. Yeah, glycine's the first ingredient in Pro Blend. That means it's 99% glycine, which tastes delicious, and it's cheap.
Fantastic.
Yeah. People don't know
God.
how good they have it these days with the taste and smell and mixability and flavor profiles. And man, we had it back in the day.
We were making our bulk stuff and trying to cover it up with Crystal Light mix, and it's just like
awful. I remember using back when Crystal Light came in like the little tub with the foil, lid on it.
Yep.
Now they're all packaged.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the little tub, and you peel off a little piece of the tub and pinch it so it was like a funnel and pour it into your shaker. And I remember putting a whole one of those in a shaker to mask some of the shit that we used to do. I mean, God.
You'd use like the whole Kool-Aid size stick that's like
what I
10
mean.
servings.
Like a half gallon's worth of flavoring in a 20-ounce shaker to mask the shit that was in there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
God.
I do recall. That's funny.
I'm so glad we don't have to do that shit anymore.
Let's see. Any new Synthogen flavors? She is not a fan of the new ones. She asked if there's any more coming
all
out.
3 of them. So let me speak on Synthogen real quick. Overwhelmingly, it's been well received. Now, anytime you make any changes, every now and then somebody's resistant to those changes. Couple things on flavor. So we have 3 flavors right now. We have a 4th one that we're working on. I would like to eventually have 5 available by the end of the year. We'll see how things go. One of my goals in creating all these new flavors was to not just have new, unique flavors that were vastly different from each other, but also have the overall experience of drinking it be different. So some people really love tart. Some people really love sweet and light. Some people really love like smooth and I don't want to say creamy, that's the wrong word, like smooth, okay? And so you can't make one that's super tart and make the other one that's super tart, even though it's not supposed to be tart. So like the Malibu, the strawberry watermelon is the most tart of the 3. Well, that's because the watermelon typically is favored as a more tart ingredient versus like the Trop House, it's the guava, tangerine, lime. Guava is a very mild, very smooth, almost bland fruit. And the tangerine is citrusy without being like tart citrusy, like a lemon lime or something. And then we put just a teeny bit of lime on the back end for that flavor enhancement. But that's a very smooth flavor. So somebody that inherently is used to really strong, really tart drinks, if they buy Trop House, they're probably not going to like it. The other part of that is that there's a range of fluid that we recommend to mix stuff with. And on average, most people are going to find that they work well within a small range of 12 to 16 ounces of fluid per scoop. Most people. And that's how those are flavored. Now, some people are going to prefer it with 8 ounces and they like it really strong. Some people are going to want it really dilute, just really light, and they're going to need to dilute it more. But if you take something like Trop House, which is very smooth, and you dilute it to 20 ounces, it's going to have very minimal flavor. If you take something like Malibu, which is very tart, and you mix it in 8 ounces of fluid, it's going to be overwhelmingly tart, possibly even bitter because of the concentration. So one, maybe find which one matches your natural flavor preference, your natural palate preference. And 2 is make sure that you vary the amount of fluid. Always start with less and then slowly add fluid until you found like your fluid sweet spot. And then you'll know. But yes, we have a couple more flavors in the works. One of them, we had it nearly perfect, and then there was a major issue with some of the flavoring materials, and the flavor house couldn't get them, and it was just a disaster. So we're going to revisit that one soon, and hopefully we can nail it again and release that later on this year.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. I've enjoyed the flavor so far. I know Synthogen's awesome too. Been enjoying those flavors. Trying to think what I have at home.
Well, and the thing is too, is like, we come up with these changes, and again, if we're looking at a bell curve distribution, an average distribution of people, 80% of people are going to find something that they love with the new stuff. 10% on either side of that are either going to think it's literally the best thing ever in the world or the worst. And you just can't get around that. Anytime you create any product, somebody's going to think it literally is the best thing they've ever had. Somebody's going to think it's the worst thing that they've ever had. And most people are going to like it and be in that middle range of just, oh, this is really good. I enjoy this.
Sure.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I don't see any more questions loading.
So, let me touch base on the Synthogen real quick again. So I actually spoke to a customer a week or 2 ago about this Synthogen, the flavor issue, and she bought the Malibu and said that it gave her a little bit of stomach discomfort while she was training. I asked her about fluid concentration. I asked her about her meal prior to training, her pre-workout prior to training, all the typical questions. And it was just causing her stomach to kind of be a little sour. The Malibu, because it's the most tart, has the most acid in the product. That tartness is created from either citric acid or malic acid. Malic acid, in fact, is one of the souring agents of like sour gummy worms or Sour Patch Kids. Both of those acids in quantity for some people can be a little upsetting to the stomach if they're not used to consuming a lot of acids in their regular food supply, especially if you concentrate it down into, let's say, an 8 to 12 ounce of fluid versus, let's say, a 16 ounce. The amount of acid per sip hitting their stomach is going to be more than what they're used to, and they might have a slight stomach discomfort. But I sent her a couple scoops and some baggies of the other flavors, and she loved them and had no issues because there's less acid in those products, in those flavors.
Sure. Cute. Okay. Here's a question. And I don't know if you'll...
I love that you're smiling before you're about to ask me this question. Hit me.
I mean, I know the answer for the most part, but I don't know if you want to, how much you want to reveal. Are there any new formulas on the horizon?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Yes. What the hell? Let's spill some beans here. I won't spill some beans. So our main priority in the first half of this year, which is literally over at the end of this week, was finishing the rebrand. There are a few products that are going to be on the chopping block. There are a few more as part of the rebrand that we still need to produce. The new Morphobrain is one of those big ones, the new Morpho Pump. Those ones are still going to be another, probably 6 to 8 weeks away due to a number of logistical problems. But for the most, the new, Thermogen's coming back probably next week. Omega's coming back next week. So for the most part, the rebrand is, for all intents and purposes, done. Once we were done with all that stuff, now we can start to allocate some of our funds into expansion of the line again, which would be potential new products. One of those products that I'm very, very excited about is a electrolyte and hydration product. We're going to call it Hydrogen. Hydra with an A. So it's not hydrogen like the element, it's hydrogen like hydration. So gen means create, it's creating hydration. So that's going to be an electrolyte product that has other supporting hydration ingredients, things like glycerol, taurine, some other goodies in there. The really cool thing that we're doing with this one is, I'm a perfectionist at heart. I'm also somebody that every decision has to make the most sense. There has to be a reason to make a decision. When a company puts an arbitrary amount of sodium in a product or potassium or an arbitrary source, it looks good on a label, but it doesn't make any sense. There's a company, a really huge company right now, and they came out with a hydration product recently, and it has a really good amount of potassium, but a really small amount of sodium. And then it's got some other stuff in there that has nothing to do with hydration at all, and it's like, it doesn't really need to be in there. And the product's wildly popular. But to me, the amounts of all those key electrolytes makes no sense whatsoever. The other thing with these electrolyte products is everyone focuses on sodium and potassium, maybe magnesium, maybe calcium, but that's it. People don't realize that there are other electrolytes. Chloride is one of them. So if you're using nothing but sodium citrate or potassium citrate or something, those are good. But on a product like this, having some chloride, either from potassium chloride or sodium chloride, whatever it is beneficial. You have bicarbonate. So, when people think about like sodium bicarbonate, like baking soda, potassium bicarbonate, bicarbonate is not a necessary element per se, but bicarbonate is a very potent electrolyte, and it does have some interplay there. So we focused really heavily on the specific sources of all of these to get the totals amount of each thing. And it's really complex because something like, let's say like sodium chloride is, only 30%, I think, or 35% sodium by weight. So somebody might be like, wow, this one has a gram of Himalayan pink salt. But that only has a couple hundred milligrams of sodium and a whopping amount of chloride, which is great. But if you need more sodium, you need to couple that with a high sodium, like a sodium phosphate. So phosphorus is another one of the electrolytes. So if you add sodium chloride from pink salt and sodium phosphate, you elevate the sodium without elevating the chloride anymore, and you add phosphate to that. So now you have all of them in balance. So we really took precedent to balance that out. We also, as part of that formula, have a specific mix of compounds shown in research, especially with elderly populations, to really maximize fluid uptake and hydration status overall in those populations specifically who are very susceptible to dehydration. So getting those specific types of, or I should say forms of electrolytes in those specific amounts, most people in the industry are not even going to pay attention to this, but to me, it was really important. So we're going to do that. We're likely going to make it a 30 serving container. We're not going to sell for $56. It's going to be for that 34 price. And that way we can come out with a few flavors and people can try a couple as opposed to committing to like a 60 serving jug, for example. So that's the plan. Cool. My plan is to do 2, maybe 3 flavors. We actually should be getting the next round of samples any day now. So if you remind me later this week, I'll send you some to try.
Yeah, we talked about this product like months ago.
I literally had this
it was like 6 months ago.
I had this product ready to go late last year. And then COVID took a shit, the economy took a shit, and then we were really heavily working on the rebrand, and we were trying to get inventory up on our big sellers. And it's like, it makes little sense to invest in a new product if Nutrigen keeps selling out. We need to buy more of those before we release this new thing. So hydrogen is going to be the big one that I'm focused on in terms of new stuff. There's a few others that I'm tinkering with, and I'm, one thing that I'm trying to do as CEO of this company is not make so many passion-based decisions. Now, passion is at the forefront of what I do, but I'm still running a company and I'm still responsible for, providing popular products to our customers. I'm still responsible for paying salaries to my employees. I have to keep this building running. And so part of that is my, my evolution as CEO is making better business decisions. And a big part of that is not creating products for the sake of creating products as I can, and doing it in a way that creates the best total outcome for the customers primarily, because it's like, I can create 10 new products and that helps nobody if they're not very popular and everybody can't get what they want because we're investing in these. So.
Yep. Cool. All right, let's see if we... Hydrogen sounds fun. Yes, should be. All right. Yeah, I was looking in here. Our conversation was in December, so there you go.
I'm telling you, we had samples. The first round of samples of this product, we had them almost a year ago, and they were incredible. We actually also had an unflavored one, which didn't have a specific flavor, but it still tasted incredible. The mix of electrolytes with some of the acids that, with some of like the citrates as part of the sodium or potassium citrates, coupled with a little sweetener, coupled with a little glycerol. It was like, this is delicious, but it's not a specific flavor. And that would have been a really dope version of that product because it's universally mixing with any of the synthogen flavors or alphagen flavors. So I might consider releasing an unflavored as part of that launch with a couple flavors. I just don't know yet. So
one other thing was let me double check here. Oh yeah, that did come out. Because I know we talked about...
This guy says, has Ben tried the other hydration products on the market? Yes, I sure have. I actually am good friends with the owners of both Ghost and Glaxon, 2 companies that I like, that I respect a lot. One thing with companies like that is like they have theirs a very specific way that they are trying to do things. And when I see companies like that, I see what they make. Their formulas fit into their brand really well. It's almost like a brand signature. Like I can look at a formula and be like, that's Ghost, that's Glaxon, that's Inspired, that's Core. I can look at their formulas and be like, I know who made that formula. It looks like them. It looks like their brand. And I think that's a really cool thing that I can see these companies that I like and respect doing stuff. Do I think that what we're going to produce is going to be, a potentially better, superior type of product? Of course I do. Of course I think everything I'm doing is the right way to do it. It fits in with our brand. Does that mean that people that really love Ghost's hydration product are going to like ours more? No, that certainly is not what that means. there's more to the success of a product, the acceptance, and the love of a product than just the formula and just the effectiveness. It's the totality of what that represents. And some of that is in the branding and the marketing, in the flavors, in the visual appeal of what the product is. But I can say with high confidence that what I am planning on releasing, at least for my goals and for my purposes, is going to be a product that is unrivaled in the industry.
It's another product that I wanted to touch on too, because you and I had talked about this one. Well, I should say we had talked about creating a different one, but then you kind of allocated some ingredients back into it. That was Morphogen.
Yep.
Okay, that was the new Morphodite, because we had talked about like higher dose calcium D, moving the DEM, et cetera, et cetera. So that product changed a pretty significant amount.
Yeah, Donis and Diety both changed a lot. Speaking of this, the other one that I have still on my radar very much for later this year is that thyroid product that is a collab between the two of us. I need to get through some of these, what I think will be bigger hitters, and then I can really focus on stuff like that to round out the line, and then those can be offered in unique stacks for different people. Very exciting stuff that I want to tackle before the end of the year. So Donis and Diety, again, reallocation of ingredients. Because we had a lot more room in Prime, I wanted to take some of the stuff that were in those and move them over. To me, it made a little bit more sense. And especially when we looked at, then Calm, we had more room in the capsule size because we switched from KSM to the Shodan ashwagandha. We had a lot of people that either wanted Calm just for the DIM and the calcium glucarate or just for the stress management stuff, but they didn't want it for both. So when I first created Calm, I created Calm, 6 years ago. And a big reason I created that is because back in the natural bodybuilding world, back when I was still actively competing, there were a number of natural pros, myself included, that were using a specific mix of ingredients that at first was created. So there was a brand called PGN. It was Fat Girl Nutrition. That was a Jen Hendershot brand. She was a former Fitness Miss Olympia, and that was an offshoot subsidiary of Cybation and Primaforce, and I'm pretty sure PGN doesn't exist anymore, but they had a product called Estercort. And Estercort was a very simple product way back in the day. It was phosphatidylserine, green tea extract, DIM, and like one other thing. And all the natural pros back in the day were mega dosing this product, like, instead of 3 capsules a day, like 15 capsules a day for the last 2 weeks leading into a show to mitigate cortisol, excess estrogen, water retention, XYZ. And so originally Calm was designed kind of with that in mind. If you look at a couple other products on the market that kind of had similar signatures to that, Core Hard is another really good product in that product category that resembled that. Well, Doug was one of those natural pros using that old product, or at least those combinations of ingredients. So that was my original intention. I never planned on Calm becoming what it became. Since it did, it made sense to, again, double down on what it was, the primary function of that product, that stress and anxiety product, and then take all the estrogen management aspects of stuff for all those purposes and move them into a women's product. Because we did that, some of the more vague health-based ingredients in a product like that weren't gender or sex specific, and they didn't necessarily need to be in there. And so some of those, like the cardio aid, went into Prime, which made more sense. And then we were able to hammer down the actual effects of what those two products are. So like the new Donis is primarily focused on men's specific health, libido, and prostate support. So we took the prostate specific ingredients out of Morphotest, moved them over there, and doubled down on those. And it's, a really focused, high dosed, very well-rounded product. Diety became the same thing. It's a high estrogen management type of product for women. With a much higher dose of calcium glucarate for enhanced estrogen clearance, to increase that the balance between the different types of estrogen in the body. And so that's kind of what we're doing with that stuff, is moving stuff around to make it even better for the specific goal of what it is intended for, and that way people can choose it for that specific goal and not get secondary effects that they may or may not want.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, that was those two we had chatted about, and I was excited to see the upgrades. So they're awesome.
So those are difficult because those ingredients they're they're very specific. The amounts and the ratios need to be very specific, but we're looking at bulk ingredients. And anytime we're dealing with bulk ingredients, it's nearly impossible to get enough in a product. So in a capsule product, that's why the serving size is so large. So we had one of two options: either make it a drink mix, which is probably going to taste like shit, and then needs to be flavored in multiple flavors, or just make it 8 capsules. People that really value what it is, are they going to take 4 capsules twice a day? Yes, they are.
Yep.
If they're
Yeah.
willing to do that, then they are not somebody who needs that product to begin with, because they don't value the dosing that's in there. They don't, not enough to justify taking it. And I've always said, if somebody doesn't value the potency of a product to take 6 capsules in a day or 8 capsules in a day, then they don't take their goals seriously enough, and they don't need the product to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. When we started throwing around like the calcium deglucarate and the myoinositol, then you're talking like grams, it's gram dosages.
20
There's
capsules.
and the thing about calcium D is it's a great ingredient, but no one on the market doses it.
No.
There's like, I don't think I've ever seen a product that actually was even anywhere close to efficacy dose.
2 gram quantities, at all. And
I don't believe there is. Maybe
the thing is, like, when you're looking at ingredients, of course, there's the recommended efficacious range of dosing that should likely be used. Now, if you take something like that might need 2 grams, and if you take in 200 milligrams, is there going to be some benefit? Yes. Is it going to be maximal? Of course not. But Calm was never designed to be a maximal estrogen dominance clearance product. That's not what it was. It was designed to mitigate some of the estrogen dominance effects, in an athlete going into a prep situation where every finer little nuance matters. But ultimately, the product became so much more than that, and so it was like, let's put these over here and double down on these.
Yep. Cool. All right. I don't have any additional questions in the box here. I don't see anything.
Here, see if I can do this on my phone over.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat. So
cool. Look at us. That was almost an hour. That flew by.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you getting on. I'll reshare this on the page. So if you guys want to check it out, you can. It'll be up there. But otherwise, a lot of previews. There's a lot of stuff coming. So pay attention.
Yeah, that was good. I always enjoy any of these conversations with you, because you and I can go back and forth so fast with this kind of stuff. And it's cool because compared to me doing like a podcast, which is a lot of introductory information about me and the brand, it's like I can rattle off, we can go back and forth on formulas, ingredient dosages, it's very specific effects. And like, that's really dope shit to talk about. It's like the hour flies by. So.
Yeah. And I knew the people that were going to tune in from my Instagram were the ones that are probably going to want to hear that nitty gritty stuff anyhow. So that's why we're here. But thanks for tuning in, everybody.
And load it and tag me and help me repost it at some point, because I'm a tech idiot. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get you tagged. All right, dude. You have a good night.
Great. Appreciate it, buddy.
We'll see you.